Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Loving Life with Koy. First time here, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It's free, it don't cost you a thing. Subscribe, turn on your post notifications so that you won't miss an upload from me. Comment. So today is probably going to be a little heavy one, and maybe emotional for me because as this is something that I'm still currently dealing with. So as you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about grief, living with grief, life after grief, just grief in general. So if there's something that you're interested in hearing, just keep on watching. But first, let me put a disclaimer out there. I'm no medical professional. I don't have MD behind my name. This is strictly my experience with grief, my experience with loss, my experience with tragedy in my life. That I pray that something I say may help someone. All right, let's get to the video. All right, so guys, I have my journal here for reference, my beautiful journal. Like, share, all that good stuff. Book that really helped me, it's called Grief is Love by Marissa Renee Lee. Love this book, highly recommend. And I have my iPad here for reference. Grief, by definition, I'm gonna read the definition and then we're gonna go take that definition and we're gonna compare that with real life experiences, okay? So grief by definition is deep sorrow, especially caused by someone's death. An anguish experienced after a significant loss often includes psychological distress, separation anxiety, confusion, yearning, obsessive dwelling on the past, and apprehensive about your future. So that's the text definition of grief. Okay. So my timeline, and sorry guys if I keep looking down because again I have my journal, my iPad and book and stuff for reference. So my father passed away April 24th of 2018. And my mother-in-law, my dear mother-in-law, and if you know, you know, she was like a mother to me. We were so close like this. She passed away November 10th of 2018. So that's blows a few months apart. Now, when my father passed away, you know, although that he wasn't a huge part of my upbringing, it hurt different, you know, because your father is gone. And before he passed away, we were able to form a bond, form a connection, have conversations that needed to be had about my childhood, and we were able to form a healing between the two of us. And so in his illness and in his, I would say in his illness and we were able to have those conversations, and I was able to, you know, get clarity. I was able to get a healing for me, for my children. I also had a support system when he passed away. My support system, my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was she was a huge part of my support system. My mother, I couldn't have gotten through it without her. So again, my father passed away in April of 2018. Then I lost my mother-in-law. I really don't want to go into detail about losing my mother-in-law because that's not my, it's not my place. I will leave it up to my husband and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law to speak on that in detail if they want me to. I can do a part 2 to this video because that was a loss that has shaken the foundation of this family as far as my husband's side. The entire family, the foundation has been shaken. So that was November of 2018. I didn't think I was gonna make it. I didn't think life was I didn't think I was gonna make it through that death, through that experience, through the funeral, through any of it. I didn't think I was gonna make it. But guess what? I still had a support system. I still had a support system because my mother, my backbone, my best friend, my girl, like, if you know, you know. Me and my mother was so close. Our bond was unbreakable. It was, so February 15th of 2020 is when I lost my mom. Now, although I had been experiencing grief since 2018, since April 2018, and then it escalated to the worst that I've ever felt in November of 2018 when I lost my mother-in-law. When February the 15th hit, that day that I got that call that my mother was gone, it's like after I got that call, that hit different. Losing a parent, both parents for that matter, is a whole new life. It's a whole new life. And so we call this thing grief. We call it grief. Essentially, when you experience grief, or when that death or that loss happens, you essentially, that's a day that a new life for you is created. The old one as you knew is no longer, in my opinion. Again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. This is my personal experience. You know it is no longer, because there's this new normal that you have to then try to live with. There's this new everyday normal. There's this new, I mean, when I say new normal, everything, the whole dynamic of your life changes. That in itself can be hard to deal with. Most people can't. You know, you have to be strong. They say there's 5 stages of grief. I have here that it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I would go on, you know, if I may, I'd add guilt. I'd add, you know, I mean, it's like, it's so many stages, and I wouldn't put them in that particular order, but, you know, you do go through all those stages. So let's start with denial. When you first get that information, or that phone call, or the news that your loved one has transitioned, no matter if it happened tragically or you were expecting it to happen, there's nothing that can prepare your heart for that loss. There's nothing that can prepare your mind. You can't consume the feeling that you're going to feel when that person actually transitions and leave this earth. That is a stage of denial, because you're like, no, this can't be true. This can't be. Because that's how it was when I got the call my mom passed away. I was like, no, like, I hung up the phone. They had to keep calling, because I'm like, no, this can't be true. So I was in denial at that moment. After you deal with that initial shock, after you deal with the initial shock of getting that news, there is a responsibility that kicks in instantly. Whether you are the person that has to handle all of the arrangements, whether you are a spouse to the person that has to handle all the arrangements, whether you and your siblings together, it's a responsibility that kicks in, and it kicks in so fast till you have to start making decisions for essentially the person that have been making decisions for you your whole life. We have a role reversal. So now my mother has raised me my whole life. We talked about this. We talked about her passing, if ever she passed. And, you know, I was like, okay, cool. I got this, you know, mama, you know, nobody lives forever. We're all destined. We're all destined to go. So again, that doesn't prepare your heart just because you know. Okay. What do I do? Who do I call? What are we doing? What funeral home? What place do we call? What arrangements do I make? Where's the money coming from? What kind of? It is so much. It is so much that goes into. If you've never had to be on the front line, on the first row, on that first pew of the church, then you probably don't know the extent of what I'm talking about. Again, my mother-in-law passed away. That one I didn't think I would make it through. Although I wasn't on the front line, my husband was. So I'm the spouse of someone who was on the front line planning a funeral. The responsibility kicks in so fast, you don't have time to even, like, the grief kinda takes a back seat for a second, because you in plan mode. You in plan mode. I need to put my mama away right. I need to do this. I need to do that. It's things that has to be done in order, decency and in order. I need to contact the church. I need to contact the funeral home. I need to contact this. I need to see what she's gonna wear. I need to put a program together. I need to get a repast together. I need to get food. Who's gonna cook the food? Who's gonna do this? It's responsibility, and it's not happening one day. So then, when my mother passed away, I was the frontline person. Yep, I was the frontline person. I have 4 siblings. We all met at the funeral home. We all made decisions together. But at the end of the day, I felt like I was the frontline person only because the talks and the information that my mother had given me prior to, just in the event of, not that, I was expecting her to pass, but in the event of her death, this is where I want to go. This is who I want to, this is who I want to do my funeral. We had already talked about that. So that's why I say I was pretty much the person on the front line, because I had all that information. I remember walking through the mall with my husband, and I remember just walking like I was in a tunnel. Like I didn't see anything on the right of me or the left of me. I was just in a daze, and I was thinking to myself, I'm looking for something to, I'm looking for clothes to bury my mother in. And that thought alone, I couldn't fathom. Okay, so not only do you deal with the grief portion of a loss, then you instantly have the responsibility of that kicking in. Okay, so now you're dealing with the grief, the denial. The denial, it comes with responsibility, because you have to plan a funeral. I feel like at some point in anger, I can see where they say anger is a stage of grief, because I was angry for a long time. I was angry because I didn't have the answers. I wasn't angry at my mother for leaving me. I was angry for a lot of things. I was hurt that she died, and I was hurt that I would never get to see her again and get and experience all the beautiful things that we experienced together. She and my children, we just had a bond that was unbreakable. But I was angry because of the questions surrounding her death. Sometimes when you lose a loved one, you may want to know why. You may want to know you may want to know how. You may want to know, how they're doing. Are they safe? Are they happy? Are they loved? Are they comfortable? Are they in heaven? These answers you will never know. Okay? Now, so it's anger because you have all these unresolved issues and questions, and you never get an answer, because the only person that can answer is the person that you've lost. So that's where the anger kicks in. I mean, it's like you're just mad. You become a different person. Like I said before, life as you knew it, it's no longer. You have a new, it's like you have to have this new life, a new normal. It gets, you build up a wall. It's like you build up a wall, and you put yourself in this box, right? And you put yourself in this box because now all you want to do is just lay here and cry. You want to bargain. You want to be like, Lord, please, please, even though there's no bargaining we as human in the flesh, we still do it. Lord, if you could just give me one more day. If I had one more wish. If I don't know how many times I posted on my Instagram. If I had one more wish. If Lord, give me one more day. We're getting a bargain. Lord, please, if you could just make this all be a dream. I do this. I'll do that. You know, it's things that you can't fathom. Your spirit and your flesh can't fathom, because, you know, it's just, you can't consume the fact that this person that raised you, that molded you, that, you know, essentially just gave you life, is no longer here. And so depression sets in. For me, this is my experience. For my experience, I got so depressed. I stopped parenting. I stopped wanting to be a mother. I stopped wanting to be a wife. I work a 9 to 5. I work a 9 to 5, and I even stopped that. I stopped living. I began to go down a downward spiral of depression that was very unhealthy. It affected my children. So if I had to throw in another piece of advice, it would to be, get help. Get you some help. Get counseling. If you're raised in a Christian home, as I was, and everybody want to say, oh, you know, your mother's in a better place. Oh, just pray about it. God is going to fix it. Oh, you know, all these things, all these cliche statements that are true. They are true statements, but they are cliche. And at that point, you don't want to hear that. I didn't hear it. I don't want to hear it. That doesn't help me. It didn't help me in any way. It actually made me worse. If you want me to be honest, if I'm being honest, it made me worse, because what does that do for me? That's not giving me her back. That's not comforting me. And that's being, and I know it sounds selfish, even especially if you were in a predicament or a situation where your loved one was ill and suffering, and you still want them, you still have that longing, like the textbook's definition of grief says. You have that longing, that anguish for them, and obsessive, you just obsessive, and that's how I was. So, get help. Don't try to do it on your own. Like that, because it's a dark place when you don't allow actual healing. Because my husband said something to me, and it made sense after, because again, this is 2023, so I'm 3 years in. So to be still dealing so heavily with the grief, the loss of my mother, it's not unheard of. And don't let nobody rush your grief, because grief doesn't have a timeline. Get help. Don't sit in it, because the longer you sit in it, the more you will want to. Sounds crazy, I know. You will be in a place to where you're comfortable hurting. You're comfortable grieving. You're comfortable laying in the bed crying every day. You don't open the blinds. I don't want no light. I just want to lay here and I just want to cry. And that gives you some sort of comfort. And it sounds crazy, but it's true. It's like an addiction. It's like you become addictive, obsessive with grieving. It's almost like if you don't grieve, in a sense, you're saying, if I'm not grieving that person anymore, I'm forgetting about them. That's not true. When you become obsessive and addictive to grieving, that's when it becomes very dangerous for you. That's when it becomes a problem that you can possibly, be at risk of taking your own life, because you can no longer function. My children began to be affected. I wasn't available to help my children navigate. I wasn't available to help myself navigate. I was addicted, I was obsessed, and I was content with grieving. Hard Okay, we're grieving hard. So you don't know what I'm going through. And he, you know, it got to the point where I pushed him away. Grief can dissemble marriages. Grief can it can tear families apart. It can tear marriages apart. It can tear relationships, whatever ship that is, sistership, friendship, because you become a different person. You're no longer able to be there for the people that love you or for the people you love in the way that you were while you're in that state of grief. But in seeking counseling, every counselor, I'm trying to say this without, ooh, Lord. Seek the right counselor, okay? Don't let a counselor, when you go to counseling and it doesn't feel like the right fit, and it doesn't feel like you're being heard, and it doesn't feel like, that's not the counselor for you. Don't be embarrassed if you have to switch counselors once, twice, or 3 times. I don't care. You need a person, your person, that's going to be there and listen and have the right words at the right time to say to you, you know. And sometimes counseling looks like, you know, I'm going to tell you what I learned in school. This is going to be textbook. This is going to be textbook counseling. Or sometimes counseling can look like, well, look, baby, I'm going to tell you the hard truth. And then sometimes counseling is going to be a nurturing spirit, like a mother would nurture a child. So again, choosing the right counselor is key. Choosing the right counselor is key. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. It's essentially your money you're spending. Essentially, it's your heart that needs healing. So you need to pick the person that's the right fit for you. I, in 2023, okay, have finally found a counselor who I feel this is my person. I will disclose her name, but I'm not sure if she's comfortable with me doing that. I will ask her. And I feel like this video needs to have a part 2, because along with grieving, then you have mourning. You know, a lot of people don't even bring up mourning. So y'all let me know down in the comments below if y'all want a part 2, mourning. Grief is not the problem. Grief is actually healthy if you're grieving the right way. Okay, if you don't go down that dark hole, that dark spiral, grief, getting it out, getting those tears out, getting those emotions out, that's healthy for you. Where it becomes unhealthy is when you become obsessive and addictive, like I was, and comfortable and wanting to feel that way. I desired to hurt. I desired to cry. I desired to grieve so hard, because if I didn't, that would indicate that I don't miss my mom like I do. And Lord knows I do. But I had to learn that's a problem. That's a real serious problem. It has a name. And so if that's where you are in your grief, get help, because that's not the healthy part of grief. The healthy part of grief is getting your emotions out, getting those tears out, getting those feelings out, and trying to move past. The unhealthy part is staying there. Don't sit in it. My mother died in 2020. It's 2023. And I'm just now getting to a place where I can talk about her and not cry. Sometimes I can look at a photo and smile. My kids, they always bring her up. My mama was the best seamstress in all of the land. And, you know, they would bring stuff up about Mama. And now I'm able to smile with them and joke with them and be happy with them, instead of just bursting out into tears, because I'm in a healthier place of grieving. Am I done with grieving? No. No one knows when grief will end. No one knows if grief is ever, you know, ending. That's where I was, and thank God I'm not where I used to be. I'm in a better place. I have a long way to go. But I'm in a better place. The people that are trying to be there for you, let them. Sometimes they won't have the right words to say. Sometimes they won't have anything to say. Sometimes they'll have the wrong thing to say, but they're trying. So let them. Don't push away your support system. Don't push them away, because once you come out on the other end of this thing, that's who's going to be standing there waiting on you, cheering with open arms, like, we finally have you back. Don't push away your support system. Find what makes you happy again in life. And that's why I titled my channel Loving Life, because I stopped loving life at one time. I stopped living. That's why I titled my channel Loving Life. And I'm on this journey. It's a journey. Grief is a journey. I don't know if it ever ends, but I know it does get better. So seek help. Seek help. Don't stay in that place. Don't stay in that place. That place can become addictive, whether you want to admit it or not. There are some people that won't be brave enough to admit that, because doing any of those things doesn't help you move past it. It doesn't. All it does is drive you to an early grave. Take that from me. If you don't take nothing else from this video, don't sit in it. Try to move past it. Get help. Seek counseling. Don't push your support system away. The people that's trying to help you, let them. Let them. Even if they don't know how. Sometimes help can be just sitting here crying with me, or sitting here listening to me cry. Just sitting there while y'all both quiet. Y'all could just be sitting in silence, but she's supporting you, or he, or your support system is supporting you in that way. Whatever way that they know how to show up for you, let them. The rage that you feel is not the problem. The rage that you feel inside is not the problem, because I believe that's a part of grief. Because the rage that you feel ends up pointing you into the path that you need to be on. So then here we go. The path of truth. That's when you start to do the work. You start to do the self-work in here, in here. Now, my self-work included journaling. I had to get some feelings out through journal, because I didn't feel like my husband was hearing me. My children were too young to hear me. And then the children that I have older, I had placed so much on them in my grief that I no longer felt comfortable even letting them know that I was still grieving. So my sister, my beautiful sister, Tyra, took the three of us. So I have two sisters. So my mom had three girls. So all three of us went on a sister moon. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Everything, when I tell you, my sister, even in her grief, showed up for us in a way that I could never have imagined. She booked us a flight. We stayed at an all-inclusive resort. It was gorgeous. And I'm not saying that just because she paid for everything. What I'm saying is the experience that she gave us, and the freedom and the freeness to free our mind just for that weekend, and what she introduced us to, journaling, and just living out loud, and trying to just make us come out of this rut, because my other sister was grieving really bad as well. And that weekend was an eye-opener. That weekend opened my eyes. That's why I say don't push away the people that's trying to be there for you and comfort you and help you, because you never know. You just never know. My sister gave us a weekend that I will never forget. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was beachfront. It was, we did some journaling. We did some reflecting. We did some bonding. Oh my God. We bonded. We rebonded our sisterhood, our relationship, our, what we regathered what my mother had already instilled in us. And all, when you grow up in your adult life, you go your own separate ways. But this trip brought us back like this. And that's what we needed. That's what we needed for our grief as a sisterhood, grieving our mother. And so that helped me. And so then from there, I started journaling. I started getting my feelings out through journaling. I started reading, again, this book here. Great book, Grief is Love. I started looking at different podcasts. I started researching. I started doing the work that I needed to do in order to heal myself, because I was no longer addicted. I was no longer addicted. I no longer wanted to be in that place of hurt and pain and grief and sadness and depression and being heavily medicated every day. I didn't want to do that anymore. And so if my sister, Tyra, if you watching this video, girl, you a real one. You a real one. You the one who kicked off me and our other sisters' healing. Okay? God used you in a way that you didn't even know God was using you, and I want to thank you. And how you showed us, different ways to look at life, different ways to redirect our thoughts through journaling, and it was just beautiful. And ever since then, I've been working. I've been doing the work. I've been, and I want to say this, September 17th of 2022, I was hit with another bomb. Now, my father-in-law passed away. My father-in-law and I were by far close, like my mother-in-law. Me and my mother-in-law we was like this. I was like her daughter, like me and my sister-in-law, like sisters, like literally. But my father-in-law, was the type of person, we'll hug when we see each other. He loved the kids, but that was the extent of our relationship. However, it was a loss. And experiencing another, being on the forefront of planning the funeral, picking out a casket, doing this, doing that, it flooded me back. It took me back. And I felt like I was knocked back 10 steps. And so it was like, dang, how did I get back here, Lord? And so then I had to, sometimes you got to pick yourself back up. You're gonna do the work, but you might get knocked back down, but you're gonna get back up. Grief is not just the loss of a being, a person, a loved one. People grieve different things. You can imagine being at a job for 17, 18, 19 years and losing it or leaving it like that. You can literally grieve that. That's a grief. That's a loss. That's a part of your life that has transitioned, and now you have a new normal. There are different types of grief. Also, I want to point out, and again, I won't go into detail about my mother-in-law's passing, because I don't feel like that's my, place. And it's some years ago. And I remember her being in the hospital, and they're telling me, yeah, her heart is too weak. She probably won't live past another year. She has a huge blood clot. And I'm listening to this doctor talk, and the whole while I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna lose my mom. So I felt like, in a sense, grief starts at the news of something, and don't get it mistaken about it, because I know somebody. Don't throw nothing at me. Don't get it mistaken with not having faith, okay? Because my mother lived for years after that diagnosis, so we definitely had faith. I definitely had faith. She definitely had faith. Don't get that mistaken, but I feel like you start to prepare your heart for a loss, or for that loss, when you hear those words. Oh, she might not, or, even in my mother-in-law's case, when you start to see the decline in your loved one, grief starts there. Grief starts before the death in some occasions. So that's another tip I want to tell you. If you're dealing with a loved one, a parent, it don't even have to be a parent. It could be someone that you love dearly that has been diagnosed with any type of cancer or any illness, and that you see a decline in them, you're grieving now. Your grief starts then. You're trying to prepare yourself for the big day. And I mean, when I say the big day, I don't mean that in a jokingly way. I mean, you trying to prepare yourself for when that day comes. And that's also called grief. Grief is very complex. Like I say, I can go on and on. I've been talking for 44 minutes and I still can go on and on. And I still haven't hit every point that I needed to hit because, you know, it's so much. Just know that you're not alone. Just know that there is help out there. Just know that you can seek help. Just know that you don't have to be stuck with a counselor or a psychiatrist or anybody in a medical profession that you don't feel comfortable with. It's your life, it's your choice. You can move on to the next until you find a fit that works for you. Again, don't push your support system away. There are going to be times you don't want to be bothered, and like I said, there are going to be, if you let yourself get stuck in it, there's going to be times where you're not going to be bothered. But if your support system is willing to be there, still there with open arms, let them, because you're going to need them in the end when you come out of this thing. Also, just know that it's not in your mind. You're not crazy. Your life has been altered. When I lost my mother-in-law, the very existence of my foundation shifted. Now, God is the existence. He is I don't know, you know, if you believe in God or whatever higher power you believe in, but it's for me and my house. We serve the Lord, and although he is the foundation, I feel like my faith was shifted, my faith was tested, my relationship with God was tested. I questioned so much. You're gonna go through so much, so don't think that, you know, don't think it's, you know, it's normal. It's normal to question these things. It's normal to go through these things. It's normal to have all these different emotions come flooding towards you, but don't sit in it. Again, don't sit in it. Get yourself some help. Have your support system around you. If you have to take medication, I'm not opposed to it. I did it for a couple of years. And know that every soul on this earth has a contribution. And once that soul that you lost, that contribution is over, then you're left with a new normal. So it's essentially learning how to live again. So yeah, that's why I'm, you know, starting my new journey on loving life over here. So thank you guys for listening to me ramble and ramble. I haven't even dove into all of the notes that I have before me. But again, I've been talking for 47 minutes, and I don't want this video to be too long. If you want a part 2, please just drop it down in the comments and let me know. I would love to film a part 2. I would love to go into more detail. But thank you guys again. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. You know, once you subscribe to this channel, we're going to start loving life together. Bye, guys.